Well, this presentation is about unconventional methods for fitting lower extremity prosthesis. I think I have the remote here. Yeah. Now, prostheses are built from several components, and these are our main components of the socket: the foot, artificial knee for above knee, and connecting structures. And you can, this is a typical below the knee, and this is the foot, the socket, and the connecting components. And up there is the required silicone liner. First, some terminology. If you get amputated below the knee, it's called transtibial amputation. I'm going to refer to it as below the knee, BK. If you get amputated above the knee, it's a transfemoral amputation. I'm going to refer to it as above knee or simply AK. A stump is called residuum, residual limb. I'll refer to it as a stump. So unconventional methods, what are the conventional methods? Well, it starts with calling in the amputee, measuring him, taking his statistics, and casting him with plaster of Paris bandages. When that's done, you bring it into the workshop and somebody fills it with plaster of Paris, and you have a positive model over which you can make a socket. And these are typical casts. Do I have a pointer in there? Okay. Mostly for below the knee, but this one is for above the knee. And then you make the positive model. These are more casts. And up there you see a positive model. And this for above knee socket. Now, when you have this, you start with when you wrap the stump with plaster of Paris bandages. You force a form while the plaster of Paris is setting. You force a form onto the cast. Same with the above knee. And when you have the model, you attack the model with your tools, which are shavers and plaster of Paris for build-up, and you rectify the model. Means that you bring it to a shape and form, and of course you measure it. You measure the stump, you measure the cast, the model, and you shave off considerable amounts of material, and you add considerable amount of material. So this is a lengthy process. Well, then you assemble the prosthesis, and you call in the amputee, and you have a fitting session, and you align it. So you watch the amputee walk, and if its prosthesis is doing something like this, you have to rectify it, align it, so that everything is in balance. And then, if this is successful, you fit the cosmesis and finish the prosthesis and call in the amputee for delivery. This means at least 3 visits by the amputee, and oftentimes many, many more visits. And this is a process that can take weeks, sometimes even months. Now, 50 years ago, a person in London, Dr. Robin Redhead, theorized that hydrostatic sockets for above knee would be feasible. Conventional sockets are made to attack the bones through the soft tissue. But a hydrostatic socket relies on global pressure over the whole surface of the stump, and it gets it's defined as a hydrostatic fit. the stump can be referred to as a hydrostatic medium, unspecific viscosity, and it works. This is a socket for above knee, and this is a hydrostatic socket. And sockets above the knee are the pain of all prosthetists anywhere in the world. And the issue at hand is they think they need to connect to the bones. And in the above knee, we have the ischial bone, the sitting bone. Problem with the ischium is that the joint is out here. The ischium is down here. And you just move around and you lose contact with this bony structure. So this is something we recently have started manufacturing. And it is a silicone ring, we call it a brim, that goes up to the groin. And it works like this. First you roll on a silicone liner. And then you you drag up an insulation for the resin. And then you pull this up high as you can. Then we put the glass fiber braid over it and inject it with polyurethane resin directly on the stump. And this is the resulting socket. And these sockets are very comfortable. And we have quite an experience making these sockets. And they are, in my opinion, the best sockets anybody can make anywhere in the world. Now, above knee sockets versus below knee. An above knee socket can be made with just radial pressure, meaning that you fit the silicone liner, you fit the insulation, and the insulation is typically something like this, very thin, and you fit the braid, and then a second insulation. When you have fitted this package, the stump is quite stiff. The free-hanging stump is very, very pliable and unstable. You cannot change the volume of the stump, but you can change the form. But when you have fitted all this elastic stuff around the stump, it becomes very stiff. So, radial pressure, this is a silicone elastic. If I put it on my forearm, it will exert approximately the same pressure the whole circumference. But if I fit this, let's say, on my hand, it's obvious that the highest pressure would be here and there. Some pressure on the back of my hand, but there's no pressure in the palm of the hand. See that? And this is what fact is about the below knee stump. Because you have the two bones, the tibia and the fibula, and you have the fibula head, you have the end of the tibia, and you have the condyles, and it's more or less triangular. So you have to give it a uniform pressure over all the surface. This is what we called ice cast a long time ago. It's been changed since then. It's fast, it's low cost, it's easy to teach without sacrificing quality. And this is all we need. And actually it will, all we need for tools, the only power tool we need is the hacksaw up there. The rest of all of the tools will fit into a slightly bigger duff bag than I have on the floor. And besides, materials for approximately 10 prostheses. You can hold it in your hand. You can take it anywhere and make your prosthesis anywhere. You don't need a facility. You don't need a machine park. And this is what we use. On the left side, you have the foot, you have the insulation, you have the resin, you have the silicone liner, you have the braid, you have the tubes, and these are just tools. And this is the ice cast, the silicone bladder. It's a double silicone bladder. And how it is used, you can see here that, I think this is in Cuba. You reverse the silicone liner, and then you roll it on the stump. You fit the braid. You see the insulation sheet, and you inject it with polyurethane, and you connect to the end of the silicone liner with the casting bag, and you roll it on, and you pump it up to predetermined pressure. And that's all it is. You wait for 10 minutes, and you have a socket. And you assemble it. If you're lucky, you have an assistant already done this, so all you have to do is attach the socket, and the amputee walks. This is a typical setup. The socket, foot, connecting components, the silicone liner. It's attached to the bottom of the socket with the ratchet pin and the lock. It goes in like this and absolutely secure. Well, we have a further development, and still working on this. And this is a new concept we're introducing. And when that's ready, we replace all the aluminum components with glass fiber. And it looks nice. And besides, you can fit a very inexpensive cosmesis over this. And then you pull a sock over this, and you have a finished prosthesis in, let's say, 2-3 hours. You walk your amputee in 20 minutes, half an hour from start, and you see him walk out of the door. Well, let him stay around, and you observe him, see everything is okay. In 2 hours, he doesn't want to be there anymore, so he just disappears. So what's the implication of this? Well, I was talking about casting and the plaster of Paris bandages. And we know that, of course, there's high tech, there's CAD/CAM, there's a laser scanning of the stump and things like that. But essentially, these are just tools. And in the programs, they have exactly the same tools they use for the positives. Shave off something there, put in a template that some guy in Florida put in there, add some material there, and then goes to a mill, and you mill it out from a foam. It is essentially the same process. Gives you status, costs a lot to invest in, so you're well off. Okay. I think the implication of all this is that, let me mention, the time used conventionally in the industrialized world is somewhere between 20 and 40 hours for a below knee. The cost is something like $5,000 and up. And we can provide solution that's maybe a fraction of the cost and a very small fraction of the time used for making these things. Right? I could go on for the whole afternoon, but I'm out of time. Sorry about that. Thank you.